Maddie Tobian. I'm going into 10th grade.
I'm Macy Cleesby, and I'm also going to be a sophomore.
I'm Sophie Tobian, and I'm going to be a sophomore.
I'm Julia Cleesby, and I graduated.
I'm Erin Boatman, and I'm going to be a freshman.
I'm Charlie Canfield, and I will be a junior.
I'm Jacob Boatman, and I'm going to be a senior.
Okay, so Sophie made a slideshow tonight of different pictures, and we each took a different day of the trip, and so then we can tell you about that day. And we just want to say thank you again to everyone that donated to us. And we also got these shirts for the trip, so we wore a different one each day. And then on the back, they have all the sponsors that helped pay for our t-shirts on them. So I will start with the first day. Okay, so on the first day, we all met here at the church at 4 in the morning, and some of us were a little more awake than others. And Ken and Deanna Rowan they got here early to meet us and send us off, and so we got here and we just kind of we talked a little bit, made sure everyone had all their bags and stuff, and then we prayed before we left for the airport. And then this is a picture of the metro, and we rode this once we got off of our flight when we were in Houston, and we had to wait a little bit for it, so it was nice once we finally were able to get on it and have the air conditioning. And we rode this downtown, and then once we got downtown, we walked around a while just to kind of experience downtown Houston and to just see some of the different buildings and just to get our exercise in that day. And then we walked to the restaurant where we ate lunch, and we were all really hungry by then, so it was nice to be able to eat. And then after that, we went to a grocery store that was about a 15-minute walk from our hotel, and we got some snacks and breakfast food that we'd be able to eat throughout the week. And then this is a picture of us in front of NRG Stadium. And this was where the gathering, kind of concert-like things that we had every night was held. And it was right across the street from our hotel.
So day 2 was our interactive learning day and community life day. So it took place in the NRG arena, which was really close to the stadium within walking distance. And the best way to describe it to you would be to compare it to a market, but instead of vendors and shops, there's different activities set up. So the building was divided into 6 sections, which were Move, Connect, Bond, Reflect, Accompany, and Dream. And in each different theme, there were different activities that corresponded to that theme. So for instance, in the Move category, there was basketball, which Aaron, Charlie, and Jacob really enjoyed. There's also Gaga, high ropes, bumper cars, volleyball, and rock climbing. There was just a bunch of really cool activities. And in the Dream category, there was a mini college fair that took place that was showcasing a bunch of Lutheran colleges. So I got to go and talk with some students from those different colleges, and it was really interesting that they had that as an option for you to hang out at. And then some other activities was a mural that we got to paint, and the mural was actually displayed at the closing ceremony on Sunday, so that was really cool to see our work displayed in front of 30,000 other people. There was also a hammock village and a bunch of other miscellaneous activities. So one of my favorite things that I got to do at the Interactive Learning Center was the Global Barnyard Challenge. And so Macy, Maddie, myself, and my mother both did the Barnyard Challenge. And so we had to kind of walk through what a third world country farmer would do. So we got to choose different crops and dig through soil for rocks, put cowbells around our necks, and Macy, Maddie, and I got the pleasure of running with 40-pound water jugs to see what it was like to move water to and from your crops. So it was a really fun experience to be able to do that, and it showed us what other people obviously have to go through on an everyday basis. And Julia gave blood, and Erin donated a lot of her hair, and I got to sew a drawstring bag that a church would be giving to students in Ethiopia. So that was really cool for me because I got to do something that was interesting to me, but also helped me to carry out God's word. And then community life took place in another NRG building that was really close by. And that was basically a big space where kids could, from different states, could meet in a fun environment. And there was lots of cool activities there too. There was mini golf, there were a bunch of bouncy houses, obstacle courses, Gaga, arts and crafts, and more hammocks, because we love hammocks. And overall, it was a really fun day of learning about how we can incorporate God into everything that we do. And we got to make a bunch of connections with people from all over the country. So that was really fun for us.
All right, so the third day that we went to while we were in Houston was our Synod Day. We didn't have to do any walking this day because the event was in our hotel in a ballroom. For our Synod Day, we got together with all of the youth from our Northwestern Synod. During this gathering, we did lots of activities that helped us meet new people. It helped a lot of kids get out of their comfort zone. We sang songs and we listened to the bishop tell his story, as well as listening to many scriptures and watching interpretive reading of a few Bible verses. There was over 800 people in our synod, which is the largest that it has ever been. And overall, we had fun building faith and making friends.
All right. So day 4 was our service day, and these were the shirts that we wore on the way to go help. And after the Synod Day, during the Synod Day, we got to sleep in, but Christy told us that for our service day, we'd have to wake up early, 7:30 in the morning, and a lot of people weren't awake still. Yeah. And, some of us were hoping to be, outside and stuff, but we actually got to be in the Houston Food Bank, and it's the biggest food bank in the nation. And you want to tell them?
So what we did in the Houston Food Bank is you can see behind Julia and Sophie there that there's this big carousel that's on a track, and it's got shelves on it, and it would move around the room at 2 miles per hour. And you would go grab a box, you'd sort food on compared to what guidelines they had, and then you would put the boxes, as you can see, there's one right up there. You'd put the boxes, empty boxes on top, and then the boxes of food, and they'd take them right on out into the next room where the other people would go in and package them into meals. And we got 25,000 pounds of food done that day, and that provides about 21,000 meals.
And fun fact is that we had so many people that usually if people were coming to help at the food bank, you would have 6 people at a table, but with our help and determination, we had 8 to 10 people at a table, and so it helped move things pretty quickly and efficiently. And then, also one thing, after the service day, we had this little after party to help move everyone, get them dancing, And we walked around and we had a blast, and some of us made picture frames, and that was a lot of fun to just see the creativity of our group and see how we can all have a fun day working and helping people that have lost a great due to the hurricane and stuff. Yeah.
So the mass gatherings were something that we did every single night we were down in Houston, and it was actually how we started the gathering and how it was ended. And they took place in the Energy Stadium with all of the 30,000 people that came to Houston. And that's where we also learned about the lessons of each day. So this theme this year was This Changes Everything. And some of the things that kind of related to it every single day were God's call, God's love, grace, hope, and Jesus. To kind of give you like a rundown of what those kind of look like every single day is we'd get there, we'd probably have to wait in line we usually waited in line for less than an hour, but most groups had to wait 2, 3, 4 hours depending on how good of a seat you wanted. And we started off with a pre-show with a DJ, and then the house band came out and we sang some songs. And something we were really like to take part of was this dance move of the day, where there was a dance move on the screen that had somewhere from around the globe, and they teach us a dance, and we'd have to try to do it. We weren't too successful, but it was fun trying. After a few songs, there would be a speaker who were sometimes pastors, but most of them were actually regular people that had really amazing stories of how God changes their life. And some of our favorite ones were a Hindu who actually converted into a Christian pastor, Nadia, who really broke the standard of what a pastor should be or should look like, Rebecca, a transgender girl who was only 11, and an attendee of the gathering who is on the screen, and he had a story about his self-harm journey and how there was grace for that. After that, some special singers came out, and some of our favorite performances were Torrin Wells, who is kind of on the screen, but you can't really see him. And there's also a big marching band with a color guard, and also 10th Avenue North, which is a really popular band. There was also these flash mobs that some of the volunteers at the gathering would do. So they'd come down, like a lot of them, like 100 or so, and they'd have like cool props and they'd do some dances. So that was really cool to watch. And the second to last day, we were able to get on the floor, which was kind of stressful. It was kind of a long wait, but it was really fun to kind of jump around and stand really close to the stage. And the very last day, we all had more of a traditional service. We actually, 30,000 of us were able to receive communion, which was really, really cool. And it was a really great experience. It was one of my highlights of the trip was the mass gatherings at the end of the day, and it was a really good way to end each day.
Sunday was the very last day of the gathering. We were all super sad that it would be over, but we were also very tired, and we probably would not have lasted another day full of activities. In the morning, we woke up and went right to the NRG Stadium for the final mass gathering. Like Maddie said, it was more traditional, so we sang songs, had offering and communion, and we got to hear a sermon as well. The whole theme of the gathering, like Maddie had said, was This Changes Everything. And during the final gathering, I realized that we had changed so much in less than a week, and that with God's love and guidance, we really can change the world just as much as the speakers we heard over the days had. After the gathering closed, we had some of us went to eat at our favorite local eatery, Chacho's, while others went to go pick up our rental van. We then all went into the huge 15-person van and drove about an hour to Galveston Island to go to the ocean. We swam, tanned, and we even had a sandcastle building contest. Finally, when the sun started to go down, we went to go eat at the Shark Shack for some delicious seafood dinners. On Monday, we slept in for a long time. We drove to Chacho's for our final meal and headed to the airport to return home. Overall, this experience was incredible, and we were all so grateful for all of your donations, love, and prayers that helped us with this trip. We got to meet amazing friends from all over, grow closer to God, experience the amazing culture, help others, and of course, eat incredible food. Our favorite meals include the tapas bar we ate at the first day, the food trucks at the Interactive Learning Center, and the Shark Shack, and of course, Chachos. Another thing that we thought was super cool was that many groups handed out buttons or like pins that had their church and states printed on them, and we even got one from Minnesota with the popular saying "UFTA" written on it. Speaking of Minnesota, this incredible gathering happens every 3 years, and I know that all of us underclassmen are so excited to go, and the upperclassmen are also very excited to volunteer because the 2021 youth gathering will be held in, drumroll, Minneapolis.
Question, did you say tapas or tapas?
No, tapas bar.
Hi, so for those of you that may not know me, I'm Kristen Tabayan, and I had the privilege with Christy, who is up in Canada, to chaperone this awesome group, and I really, truly mean that. Some of them I know a little bit better than others, but by the end of the trip, I had some really great insights, and I was taking some notes of things that I thought of from my perspective, and then I crossed things off as they touched on them, but I had the opportunity when I was in high school to go to Denver to this event. And I'll be honest, I don't have a big recollection of that event, but I just remember walking away just being so in awe of the experience. And so to be able to go back was just a great opportunity for me, and I just want to thank you for giving me that opportunity to chaperone this group. I want to touch on a couple things. So Julia's comment about the first day really glossed over what an amazing day that was, but for those of you who don't know, we were only allowed to bring a carry-on. So I had a backpack to carry on everything I needed for 5 days, including my laptop and some work stuff, and it was a very heavy backpack. And so we ended up doing quite a bit of walking, and we did actually walk about 8 to 9 miles every day. So if you can imagine on that first day, I had a very heavy, and everybody did, we all had, and it was hot, and it was humid, and then we went to this grocery store. So now we've got another 10, 15 minute walk with grocery bags, and so we just collapsed in the hotel. It was, it was just such an experience. But you know what, there was no complaining, we were all in it for the experience, and I just thought that was great. So the other cool thing about it is that our hotel was very close to the stadium. And I don't know how much we really appreciated that it was within walking distance, because there are a lot of these groups were staying at hotels downtown or outside of the stadium area, and they were talking about having 1 to 2 hour commutes to get in. And a lot of times they were coming in for that 7:30 start time for service day, and then they were staying there until after the gathering, which ended typically about 9:30 at night. And so they weren't getting back to their hotel 11 o'clock. We were able to sneak, back to the hotel during the middle of the day sometimes and get a swim in, even if it was for 30 minutes. So there was we were very lucky. And I think a lot of that had to do with who had transportation, and we didn't have transportation. And then they tried to group synods together. So somebody mentioned that we had 800 representing the Northwest Synod. What I thought was an interesting fact is that it was a 50% increase in attendance over 3 years ago. So I thought that was really cool. They touched about the topics and the gatherings. I mean, I haven't been to a concert in a stadium for a really long time, but it was absolutely amazing to see 31,000 people in youth it's basically, it's the stadium where the Houston Texans play football, just to let you know. And if you're familiar with TED Talks, which are very focused and 15, 20-minute tidbits that are very insightful, that's how I would categorize these speakers. They were amazing speakers. They were capturing these youth. I mean, it was quiet in there. There wasn't any goofing around or disrespect. I mean, they had captured people's attentions. And, I give the church credit because they touched on a lot of very sensitive topics. But I think it gave us all pause, and it also gave us all an opportunity to think about how do we see the world and how maybe should we open our hearts and our minds to, people that maybe we aren't exposed to on a daily basis. The music, phenomenal, between the DJs, the house bands, and the performances. But I would say if I went again, earplugs are in my future. The other thing that I learned is, so Madeline, my daughter, had a stress fracture, and she got out of boot right before we went, and she had to bring her scooter with, which she was not happy about. But it was awesome to have that disability because it actually got us in faster. Whether it was to the airplane or on the day that we went to the floor, and we were literally on the 6th row on the floor next to the stage, and we went through the disability group, and we were able to get those seats, which if you think about it, 6th row, 31,000 folks trying to get into that stadium. And the doors would open at 6 o'clock, and the gathering would start at 7:30. And they did a great job of having, they mentioned about some of the house band, the DJs. I mean, they had amazing things to keep everyone engaged, entertained while we were waiting for the gathering to start. And then I think the final thing I just want to touch on is some of my observations of the individual youth that went, because I learned something about everybody. And a lot of these have been touched on, but I just really want to call it out. So I learned that I did not realize the passion Jacob had for basketball. They had 3, I don't know if you noticed the picture, but they had 3, I'll call them pickup basketball courts. And what was it, 5-minute games, Jacob? And you just basically sign up and rotate. So you didn't know who you were playing with, but it was just fun to watch. And you played, 5 hours one day and a couple hours the next? I mean, so that was really cool. I gotta see if I could think. Julia, giving blood. And I'm not gonna go into details, but I just thought it took a long time. And so the amount of patience and commitment that she had to want to give blood, I thought was really, really impressive. And I know there were some other issues. But, and then it was cool. So you had this whole giving blood section, and then you had this donate hair. And on the first day I said to Erin, I'm like, oh my gosh, your hair's gotten so long. And then I get this post saying that Erin's gonna donate her hair. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. So I thought that was pretty amazing. And Charlie, I mean, everything from basketball to the hammocking to chachos. And we touched on chachos, but I gotta give a few details on chachos. So chachos was about a 15-minute walk, and it was Charlie and Christy went the first morning, and they came back and like, oh my gosh, there's so much food, and it's not expensive. So we went the second day, and part of it is it's hot out there, so walking 15 minutes to get breakfast is a commitment. And we get there, and we walk in, and we order, and I ordered like the 2 eggs, 2 bacon, which also came with 2 sausage patties. It came with fresh tortillas, roasted potatoes, and 2 pancakes. And I had a tray with 2 big oval plates on it. And it was like $8.99. And I couldn't possibly eat it all, but it was like my brunch, right? So it was breakfast and lunch. Charlie ordered this burrito. It was the largest burrito. And I don't actually know how much Charlie ate. But it was, so, I mean, just some of the cool things and hearing some of Charlie's observations. We did what was it called, a final 15. And it was really fun. It was like the last thing we did in the day before we went back to our rooms and really talked about kind of our observations and our thoughts for the day. And I thought it was really cool how insightful a lot of, and the takeaways that the kids had. Let's see, who have I covered? So, Macy. So one of the things I learned about Macy is we were talking about what we were gonna do and when we had free time. And what I just thought was so cool is one of the things that Macy was really passionate about, and unfortunately we didn't get to do it, is she wanted to go down and feed the homeless. And it just logistically didn't work out because of the timing, but she and Christy were gonna go by themselves. The kids wanted to swim, and Christy's like, if you wanna go, we're gonna go. And I thought that was just very insightful to how passionate she was about wanting to feed the homeless in Houston. Sophie was very committed to going and sewing her bag. I haven't sewn really since I was in 4-H, but this church had a whole table of Singer sewing machines, And they had the patterns and they had the material cut out, and you sat down and you started sewing. So we sat there and we sewed this drawstring bag that this church takes to Ethiopia. They buy bags or books in Ethiopia, put them in the bags, and then donate them to students. And then Maddie, when you know your own kids, it's maybe some of the observations are a little bit difficult, but with Maddie, the one thing is they had a house band. And the house band played before, during, and after the gatherings. And there was one singer that Madeline just absolutely loved the voice. And she, just the emotion on her face and the way she, and Sophie was videotaping her to get her expressions. It was just so, I don't know, it was just, Christy and I would just sit there and watch her because we were so in awe of how she was, relating to the music and the singer. So those are some of my observations of the group as I spent time with them. And again, I just want to really thank you. This was an amazing, amazing experience. So, the fridge. Oh, yes. So, well, what do you want me to say about the fridge? So the hotel had fridges in their rooms, but they were actually charging groups because groups wanted to be able to bring in their own food. So then if you didn't pay for a fridge, they were removing them from your rooms. And fortunately for us, the girls had a fridge in their room. So then when they went grocery shopping, they went to buy more refrigerated foods. And somehow the refrigerator got unplugged. We're not exactly sure if housekeeping did it. And you keep walking in their room and it kind of smells. You're not exactly sure why. Well, there was some cantaloupe that they had bought for me that was sitting in there, and the refrigerator was at room temperature, so we had a stinky room. So, and then one final thing that, it doesn't always happen, but so on the final night, Saturday night, they had a 10th Avenue North, did I get that right? Which is a very popular modern Christian band, perform. And so we, again, because we're walking back to our hotel room, and Christy and I and Sophie, were you with? We walked back a little bit ahead of the rest of the girls, and all of a sudden we had a couple teens from Puerto Rico in rooms next to us, and we find out they're pointing, and we look, and I go, Sophie, do you know who that is down the hallway? She's like, no, I don't know who that is. I go, he's got a jean jacket on. She goes, well, I don't know who that is. I'm like, that's the lead singer for 10th Avenue North. And she's like, no way. So then Julia and Macy and the rest of the folks come a little bit, we're like, guys, 10th Avenue North is sleeping just down the hall from us. What? Well, you touched on that. So anyways, so I just wanted to share that. And then again, so we left at 4 a.m. in the morning, and I just thought it was really impressive when we were getting out in the parking lot, and here's Ken and Deanna waiting for us to send us off. That was just an amazing surprise. And to learn that they thought we were leaving at, 3:45? Is that what you thought? Or 4? Oh, you got there early. So that was just... Oh, okay. But it was a very nice surprise, and I think it meant a lot to all of us, so thank you for that. So, and then who's concluding?
Oh, give it to Sophie. So overall, we hope you enjoyed learning about our adventures in Houston, and we couldn't have gone on this trip without all of you, so thank you so much for all of your support and donations. So feel free to check out the blog and to see more details on everything that we did, and there's even more pictures on there. And join us for some snacks after this, and if you want to ask us any questions, we're in our really cool t-shirts, so...
So, for the gathering, there was a lot of music that was involved, and there was actually a song written for the gathering. And if you kind of watched us during the service, we were kind of dancing back there. And so there was this dance move that everybody in the church did. So we're going to teach it to you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah. So you punch this way twice, down, down. Then you do the same thing, but with one punch. 3, 4, and then you roll and you clap. So we're gonna do it with the gathering music.
And yeah, feel free to try it yourselves if you want to.
You can all stand up and do it with us.
When the walls around me crumble, when the ground beneath me shakes, when the skies above me rumble, when my heart breaks, you're there with me, with me. Oh God, you never leave. This changes everything, everything. This changes everything. This changes everything, everything. This changes everything, everything. This changes everything, everything. Now we're learning to surrender. In our weakness, you